Welcome to a bonus episode of Window Dressing. I'm Madeline Jane Auble. In honor of Sarah Michelle Gellar's recent resurgence, particularly in the remake of I Know What You Did Last Summer and the Buffy reboot, I thought it was time to give her modernized version of Kathryn Merteuil some attention. My recent preoccupation with 18th century literature, particularly of the romantic variety, has also swayed my hand and heart in this particular direction. The 1999 film Cruel Intentions was adapted from the French novel Dangerous Liaisons, published in 1782. It was most notably adapted for the screen in 1988 and in 1959. The overt sexism in the 99 version, when compared to the 88 one, is different, but neither strays very far from the 1792 novel. My read of the former takes into account the time the work was originally written and reworked for the quote-unquote modern era. As Kathryn, the Marquise de Merteuil, says in the 1988 film version, I have always known it was my duty to dominate your sex and avenge my own. That's a task I take to heart. Gellar brings that life purpose to bear in her wardrobe and way of wearing it in her version of Kathryn. I am desperate to talk about her oh-so-sophisticated mustard and black corset and cocaine cross necklace, a look that inspired a generation of bad girls. The term femme fatale fits here because she is a woman who wields her power with the same force as a man, but its origins are firmly feminine. She seemingly plays by the rules, but has learned how to manipulate them in her favor. But let's not overlook the cage that those societal rules have trapped her in. Even in 1999, 200 years after the book this film was adapted from was written, Kathryn is figuratively burned at the stake by the end. This 18th century story transitions flawlessly into one of the sexiest teen movies of my generation. Ryan Phillippe plays the protagonist, Sebastian Valmont. The last man to play this role was John Malkovich in the 1988 adaptation. Malkovich is a hard man to follow, but Phillippe, imbued with blonde bad boy sex appeal and slutty little glasses, pulls it off. His masculine star power pairs well with the triple threat tartlets acting alongside him. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Kathryn drips sex and snorts cocaine. Reese Witherspoon plays Annette Hargrove, the blue-eyed blonde-haired virgin who is just waiting to be the good woman that serves salvation to the broken man. Not to mention Selma Blair, who plays Cecile Caldwell, the naive and mousy brunette, whose legs fall open as naturally as a cartwheeling child. The infantilization of her character adds an extra layer of depth to Kathryn's world-weary femme fatale role. Disdain for Cecile's naivety and apparent unbothered innocence gives Kathryn's rage direction and purpose. The direction and purpose behind Sebastian's motivation is gaslighting, manipulating, and recording his sexual escapades with hazy origins of consent in his journal. That's male speak for burn book. His one unrequited conquest, which is akin to love in his mind, is Kathryn. He has not yet bedded his sultry stepsister, but the incest light foreplay is an omnipresent character in their Upper East Side home. The tease is on when circumstances present themselves for a bet that awards Sebastian carnal knowledge of his sister, Kathryn, and Kathryn, Sebastian's prized vintage roadster. Either way, Kathryn wins, because it is clear as day that not only does she want Sebastian, even craves him, she also loves him. So if he doesn't get her, she saves face and gets the next best thing to sibling sex, a classic car. The subject of the bet is the virginity of newcomer and perfect teen queen, Annette Hargrove, Reese Witherspoon's character. And as a side deal, Kathryn requests that Sebastian seduce Cecile, the current interest of her ex-boyfriend. An asshole who unceremoniously dumped her and fell for, as Kathryn would put it, the innocent little twit, Cecile. The idea is to defame Cecile, who is also a newcomer to this oh-so-elite world of private high school, by outing her as a slut. This is after both Kathryn and Sebastian make it so. This is a familiar feeling. The underground betrayals for sport, the trading of young girls' flesh for favors. The familiar feeling I am thinking of is rooted in middle school, high school, or any place where young girls gather. The stereotype of catty young women is not just a sexist slogan, it is, in fact, rooted in tangible sexism. Let me explain. Girls perform in society. Some may even say we participate. But that participation is based on the roles we are allowed to play. And those are not just crafted by men, but they are built to serve men. We play for two reasons. The first being we have no real choice, and the second is that our reward for service is proximity to power. This transparent transaction cuts us off at our limbs, leaving us handicapped and small in comparison to our potential. Because of the intense and weighty reality of being a woman or girl, we have our own war games, our own codes of conduct, our own value systems, our own language. A language that not only do men not hear, see, or understand, but whose entire existence is in response to how women have been quieted and quelled. Kathryn knows the rules of this girl game. But that awareness comes with intense and justified bitterness. Bitterness that burns its wrath on girls who either don't know the rules, don't have to play the game, or are too dumb to even be aware that one is taking place. Her first target, Cecile, only inspires casual vitriol in Kathryn. She is more of an annoying reminder that men don't want an equal. In fact, they prefer an idiot, especially one with pliable legs. On Kathryn and Cecile's first meeting, Cecile comes over with her mother to seek conference with Kathryn, who is the queen bee of the private school and the most admired and respectable young lady on the Upper East Side. Cecile's mother is happy to put her moldable young daughter in the hands of this seemingly perfect visage of young womanhood. Kathryn's image is a laborious one to keep up, and her resentment of this act is visible on her pristine face. Hints of her Cosabella-branded lingerie are visible in the imagination if one pays attention to the tailoring of her demure Dolce & Gabbana suit. Truth be told, she isn't wearing a Cosabella bra under the elongated morning coat. She is wearing a custom corset courtesy costume designer Denise Wingate. Wingate got her start on Melrose Place, so you know the through lines in my mind and heart are pulsating. The corset itself has the look of a boned bodice worn over a silk camisole or lushly crafted bra. The high impact of this look comes from the rich mustard color of the silk fabric that spills out of her bust. The color reminds me of the high expense of particular pigments in a bygone era. The bodice is black and features old-fashioned hook and eye closures down the front. It fits in a way that, regardless of the likelihood of elastic in the bodice, feels as perfectly formed as statuary depicting Venus. I am far from the first to be bewitched by this look. It is discussed in many articles, new and old, about the enduring power of the wardrobe in this film. In a 2018 Interview magazine article, Wingate says that the small budget encouraged a strong collaboration between the production designer, cinematographer, and herself. This magic trio produced drapes that matched the blinds, so to speak. The literal drapery around Kathryn's bed matches one of her outfits. Wingate explains that the silhouettes were built in reference to 18th century silhouettes, the time period of the source material. The sets were built on a small soundstage in Culver City, creating a closed world for the cinematographer to give us a view into. The sets feel glamorous but lived in, like the creators are part of the ornate furniture that speckles the scenes. Cecile and her earnest but misguided mother visit with Kathryn in her drawing room. Cecile's mother is wearing a Kelly green tweed blazer that was garish in 1999 and in 2017, the year Pantone mistakenly declared Kelly green the color of the year, nearly ruining their reputation as the authority on such matters. After the pair's departure, we get a taste of the power underneath that Dolce & Gabbana jacket Kathryn's wearing, when she unbuttons it and pulls out her elaborate cross necklace that hides her cocaine. She takes a bump and proceeds to tell Sebastian all about the innocent twit that just left and her plans to ruin her as revenge against her ex-boyfriend, Court. She lies down on the chaise lounge, jacket open, the mustard silk of her corset peeking out underneath, drawing her stepbrother to her. She lets him touch her, but she is intent on the tease. The siblings relocate to her ornately decorated, deep blue bedroom, where she removes the jacket, fully revealing one of the most coveted corset looks of my lifetime. The deep blue boudoir emanates French 18th century sophistication and sets the mood for a seduction that is designed to actually serve her, a rarity as a woman. By the end of this performance, that is heavy with lust but left wanting in reward, the bet is made. When we first meet Annette, the virginal blonde played by Reese Witherspoon, her outfit sets a clear precedent for her look throughout the film. It evokes a pre- and post-liberated woman, an amalgamation that signals progress, but leads with the worst of each, seemingly opposing but actually in cahoots ideals. The virgin whose worth is in her purity, and the independent woman not willing to trade on her sexuality, both of which are still making women everywhere wait to be validated by a world that fundamentally does not see women as valid. I hate to be the one to tell you, but power is designed to stay in men's hands, and there is no reward for attempting to attain it on their terms. There really is no winning. The teen dream is riding a horse in her aptly virginal pale khaki slacks and whisper of a blush pink button-up shirt. When she dismounts, the devious Sebastian is waiting there to take her hand. She is staying with his aunt, and he has arranged to do the same. Under one roof, the planned seduction will soon be afoot. But Annette is not a fool, and is more than aware of his reputation, courtesy a letter sent by an unnamed friend. Our virgin successfully holds her ground until Sebastian penetrates her white veil via actual love. But before we get there, we watch a bad boy made whole again by the love of a good woman. A story that is as old as time and just as bothersome to me as it is to Kathryn, who is still attempting to retain power by keeping Sebastian hot and bothered for her, while satisfying her sexual appetite and side scheme with Cecile's music teacher, Ronald, played by Sean Patrick Thomas. Sparks fly between Cecile and Ronald, but he is still willing to satisfy the oh-so-sophisticated Kathryn's carnal desires. Isn't it funny how men have no loyalty to their own feelings, let alone the feelings of the object of their desire? The key to answering that quandary is in the description. The term object firmly places men as individuals with agency and women as possessions. As part of her scheme, Kathryn is picnicking with Cecile in Central Park. She is in a Holly Golightly, via Breakfast at Tiffany's, inspired black hat and pristine skirt suit. She hides her intentions and protects her vulnerability behind black oval sunglasses that will eternally lend dignity to any girl's darker days. Cecile is wearing a coral golf shirt that screams disability, paired with a green sweater tied around her shoulders. Her nails are painted a pale purplish pink that clash garishly with the coral color of her shirt. Like mother, like daughter. Kathryn brushes Cecile's hair and asks her about Court Reynolds, Kathryn's ex, and Cecile's new beau. Cecile says, "He kept talking about this bulimic head case he dumped over the 4th of July. That bulimic head case, unbeknownst to Cecile, is Kathryn. How horribly unfair. Expected to be perfect, Kathryn has developed a drug problem, cocaine, and an eating disorder, in large part in service to men like Court. Then comes along Cecile, an idiot who isn't even aware of the horrible disadvantage of her station as a woman in the world, who not only succeeds in getting the guy, but is also painfully dismissive of the plight of this other woman. Kathryn's plight is that of a self-aware, smart, and ambitious person, unlike Cecile, who is not only played as innocent, but also mildly mentally impaired. When considered through that lens, it is no wonder that Cecile won, because her character description places her as inferior, which is what men like Court want out of a woman. Unfortunately, men like Court still hold the power, which is why Kathryn wants him and why she is angry enough to sacrifice Cecile to get revenge. Call it cruel, call it wrong, but don't call it unreasonable. I am in strong support of not playing by rules that were created to keep you captive. Any methods are reasonable in the fight against the constant hand on our throat that is the patriarchy. Furthermore, I would qualify the statement that Kathryn wants Court. What she's really responding to is the injustice inherent in the fact that he has power and she doesn't. She is not only justified in seeking revenge, but the act works to even the scales. I don't just support and understand Kathryn's actions. I see them as a higher calling in the service of justice. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Kathryn is closer to God than the sugary sweet virginity of Annette or the dense naivety of Cecile. Turns out, the cocaine cross Kathryn wears serves more than a few purposes. Kathryn states a similarly aligned sentiment in an argument with her brother Sebastian. He starts to get cold feet about setting Cecile up by purposely corrupting her quote-unquote virtue and attempts to stop the plan from moving forward. Wearing a very proper burgundy brown floral dress with a strappy back, a hemline that falls just below her knees, her hair pulled back, and a delicate diamond necklace, Kathryn says, "Court Reynolds is going down, and if you won't help me, I'll find someone who will." Sebastian responds sarcastically, "You astound me." Kathryn bites back hard and fast. She says, "Eat me, Sebastian. It's all right for guys like you in Court to fuck everyone, but when I do, I get dumped for innocent little twits like Cecile. God forbid I exude confidence and enjoy sex. Do you think I relish the fact that I have to act like Mary Sunshine 24/7 so I can be considered a lady? I'm the Marsha fucking Brady of the Upper East Side, and I sometimes want to kill myself." What a horrible weight to carry. A weight that will eventually cripple this bright and brilliant woman. Being what you are supposed to be, to the detriment of your desires, always takes more power than it gives. But you can't malign her for figuring out the rules of the game and playing the best she can. And also, fuck Court and Cecile and Sebastian for participating in the injustice that has created this unending strife for women like Kathryn. I say, let them eat cake. Perhaps not so ironically, Marie Antoinette had a copy of Dangerous Liaisons in her boudoir. Or so it is rumored. So, Sebastian takes his place as Cecile's seducer, all while playing the same role at his own behest with Annette. But his manipulations, unlike with most men, end up masking the truth. He really loves Annette. What a dangerous lie the victory of his love is. In reality, his love only prospers after the fall of a great woman. It's like a beast that is not appeased without a sacrifice, the flesh of its best. I am, of course, referring to Kathryn. Thankfully, Sebastian's blood is spilled too, but the heavenly body of his one true love, Annette, sends his soul straight to the warm embrace of ultimate redemption. Backing up a bit, Sebastian finally beds Annette, but post-coital bliss, he is convinced by Kathryn to turn his back on love and stay true to his authentic self, i.e. his lust for his stepsister. Kathryn isn't wicked in this attempt to sway the complacent idiot. She is hurt and broken-hearted, but aware enough to realize that the only way to win for her now is to even the scales. Spelling out the truth of the consequences of his own bad behavior is the only way to serve that aim. And she does so with such strong-willed grit and well-earned grace that anybody watching would be a fool not to admire her. Sebastian goes back to Annette and breaks off their love affair, claiming, teary-eyed, that she was just a bet to him. Annette knows, as all good women with endless amounts of patience for men who are actively harming them do, that he doesn't mean the words he is saying. Of course, regardless of his tears or his current sentiment, the fact is that what he says is the truth. She was a bet, and just because he now loves her doesn't mean he should not suffer the consequences of his actions. I have said this till I am blue in the face, but I will say it again. What you intend to do has no bearing on the damage that has already been done. Please hurt me on purpose, not by accident. The former can be forgiven, but the latter is a debt that is carved in stone. When he returns to Kathryn, he waits for her alone in her dark blue bedroom. She arrives wearing my favorite outfit of the film, a sheer gray blouse with a matching bra and rolled hem finish that creates a mild sea creature-esque ruffle at the bottom, with a matching silver leather miniskirt and strappy sandals that glimmer in the dim light. The curtaining around her canopy bed are made of the same material as the shirt, a detail I plucked from the 2018 Interview magazine article about the costuming of this film that I mentioned earlier. It is in this scenery that the confrontation that breaks poor Sebastian ensues. Kathryn tells him that her aim all along was to get him to destroy himself by turning his back on love. Of course, it was not her aim all along, but he is too dense to notice or care. He tries to collect on the bet, but she simply says, "I don't fuck losers." That strength of character is what holds her high above any of the other participants in this depiction of the sexism inherent in society's rules of engagement. In a broken-hearted blur, Sebastian gives Annette his burn book. Oops, excuse me for emasculating him. What I meant to say was his journal. Meanwhile, Kathryn has planted an accusation of physical abuse against Sebastian, one that, regardless of your stance on such matters, makes sense given the damage he has done to her. Ronald punches him in retaliation, just as Annette tries to intervene, but is accidentally pushed into the street in the kerfuffle. In an effort to save his perfect and prized possession, Sebastian saves her, but is finally hit with some kind of karma in the form of a car. He dies, but not before professing his love for Annette and thereby saving his soul in the eyes of everyone but Kathryn and me. At the funeral, Kathryn gives her false yet feeling eulogy to a crowd that easily exits when the collective get their hands on the printout of Sebastian's journal that Annette has taken it upon herself to distribute amongst the mourners. In Kathryn's last scene, she steps out of the funeral to see everyone reading her deepest secrets as interpreted and recorded by her traitor stepbrother. The same stepbrother who was willing and eager to fuck her and take the virginity of multiple innocent girls for sport. The match on Kathryn's funeral pyre is when the headmaster, after having read the printout, takes her cross necklace from her hand and pours cocaine from it. Sebastian even felt the need to exploit her addiction in the service of his private burn book account of her. Tears fall from Kathryn's eyes. A final fuck you comes when Annette gets ownership over Sebastian's vintage roadster. That was the intended consolation prize should Kathryn not win the heart of her one true love, Sebastian. The Wicked Witch turns out to be the sacrificial lamb in this story. But her costumes, which represent the language of truth for women, endure far beyond her fallen reputation. The secret language of costume was a very important element of French courtly society, and over 200 years later, we are not only still taking meaning from women's way of wearing clothes, we are also feeling a vicarious rush of power through witnessing Kathryn's custom corset and cocaine cross. I will leave you with Kathryn's final correspondence to Sebastian as written in the 18th century novel that birthed this cusp of the 21st century film. I do not care for it when people combine bad jokes with bad behavior. That is not my style or to my taste. When I have cause to complain of someone, I do not indulge in mockery. I do better. I take my revenge. However pleased you are with yourself at this moment, do not forget it would not be the first time you have congratulated yourself too soon in the mere hope of a triumph which escaped you at the very moment of your congratulating yourself upon it. Adieu. Thank you for listening to this bonus episode of Window Dressing. I am so happy that I had the occasion to discuss Sarah Michelle Gellar's role in this film, and I hope this reminds us all of the enduring legacy of the fallen woman. I will be back soon with a Wuthering Heights deep dive, thanks to the recent announcement of the modern-day adaptation of yet another 18th century favorite. Please like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening, and follow me on Instagram at Window Dressing Podcast for more content. I'm Madeline Jane Auble.